It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the four films of October 28th, 2005. A lot of notable movies to end the month up here. We have a sequel to last year's big horror breakout hit Saw. We have a sequel to The Mask of Zorro that's coming 7 years way too late. So take that for what you will. But we have a couple underrated movies with Uma Thurman and Meryl Streep, and one of my favorite movies from this year that probably a lot of you have never even heard of. But we'll talk about that one a little bit. But let's go and get right to it. Let's start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, which is, of course, Saw 2.
What started me in my work? I was determined to test the fabric of human nature. I've never murdered anyone. The decisions are up to them.
He's testing us!
Who's testing us?
He's a serial killer. You have to play by the rules!
I'm gonna get out of here.
It's not a good idea.
Those who don't appreciate life do not deserve life. Do you appreciate yours?
So kind of like with the first movie, you have a group of ex-convicts who are trapped by the Jigsaw Killer, played by Tobin Bell, inside of a house and must pass a series of deadly tests to retrieve the antidote for a nerve agent that will kill them within 2 hours. Story is not really much of a thing that you really go into these movies for anyway, but then again, the last Saw movie, Saw X, which was I guess was a prequel, was actually pretty good in terms of the story and the kills as well. But this movie, you're mostly seeing how they're going to up the ante from the kills they had from the last movie, and because now they have more of a budget to do whatever they want with them, and because there's more of a buzz compared to the first movie, you actually do get a really good film with a lot of really intense killer gore scenes in here. And yeah, the trap sequences are nicely done. Tobin Bell is a very good Jigsaw Killer in here. The main characters are your typical horror stock characters, but the fun factor of this movie really does come in from the traps in general and how all these people are going to get affected by them. And yeah, it just makes for a really fun, over-the-top, gory movie. I mean, it is a film that if you don't know what it is going into it, you're probably not going to like it. But if you know it's a Saw movie, you know exactly what you're going to get, I think you get what you want for it here and then some. And it's definitely an upgrade over the last movie. And it was actually one of Lionsgate's first major successes. I mean, Lionsgate was the one that helped them kind of put them over the map. But starting with this movie, I mean, this was the one where Lionsgate quickly became, the second is a major studio after this, after being mostly an independent company after all these years, because of this movie's success and a couple of other successes that we'll get to as the months and years go on here. But yeah, Saw 2 does hold a special place in a lot of people's hearts at Lionsgate because it was the film that kind of helped them push them over the top to becoming right up there with the top studios: Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, Fox, you name it. But Paramount. But yeah, not much more to say about this one. But Saw 2 definitely is indeed worth it. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is a sequel that wasn't as well remembered as Saw 2, and that is The Legend of Zorro. And I think you can figure out why that is by just watching the commercial here.
Gentlemen, the future on October 28th. The legend returns. With courage for one last ride, and the adventure begins.
I can't wait till my puppy gets
Take the whole family to what critics are calling a non-stop action-adventure. Gracias. It's the best family bundle experience this year. The Legend of Zorro. PG in theaters.
I think that trailer pretty much shows you everything that's wrong with the movie. First of all, PG rating. The original was PG-13 and was not meant for kids, but this movie is clearly intended for kids. It's coming 7 years after the original. Yeah, you can bring back as many people as you want from the first movie. You can bring back the director if you want to. You can even bring in the people who wrote the Pirates of the Caribbean. You better have a really good movie here, but sadly you do not. In 1850, against the backdrop of political unrest as the scheming Jacob McGivens tries to stop California from joining the Union, the mysterious black cape masked swordsman Alejandro de la Vega, aka Zorro, finds himself in an unavoidable predicament. Having spent almost a decade protecting his people and fighting injustice, Alejandro's wife Elena insists he gives up the black mask and become a true father to their 8-year-old son, Joaquin. We're also taking from The Mummy Returns, because The Mummy Returns introduced the kid, too, and of course, that transpired very well for that series. Not, but anyway. However, when Elena learns from the French court Armand, it becomes evident that the conceited aristocrat is up to no good. Can Zorro, the legendary defender of the innocent, save both his marriage and the country? Will you give a shit when you see this movie? I mean, really, why are we making this movie now in 2005? Nobody gives a crap about Zorro in 2005. Now, if you were going to make this in 2000 or 2001 or even 2002, if you want to get that close to it, like within the span of like 2 to 5 years, then probably there would have been an appeal here. But because you watered this down to being kiddie fair, and the jokes in here are very much PG rated. There's nothing in there that's for the adults like the original. Like, there's no scenes where, you know, Zorro is using his sword to cut off Catherine Zeta-Jones' top or anything. No, there's none of that in this movie, and it'd be fine if the movie actually had something good to say about it, that there's something funny or interesting about it, but there's just nothing there. I mean, it's nothing but a watered-down version of the original film. And it's not even trying. It's just not even trying to do anything in any way, shape, or form. And it's just such a mess, because there are good talents involved in here. And I said that the guys from Pirates of the Caribbean worked on this. They wrote the story for this, but Roberto Urci and Alex Kurtzman from Lost also had a hand in writing the script for this. So you have good writers here, but they're not given anything to really do with it instead. It's just like there's just nothing here, man. It's just like, it's a waste of time. There's nothing about it that's worth it. And it just feels like a pointless sequel that they're only making because of the name recognition, which this wasn't even worth the name recognition. There wasn't even any name recognition to this in 2005. Like I said, you waited way too long to make this movie, and this just felt like an obligation, because I'm guessing that Sony probably was about to lose the rights to this, so they had to make another movie right away. And yeah, needless to say, this film does not work. So yeah, Legend of Zorro, avoid it like the plague. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to a couple of underrated movies that came out this weekend. We'll start off with Uma Thurman and Meryl Streep in Prime.
Just so eager to please me.
She thought she could tell her therapist anything.
He makes me want to do things I have never wanted to do before.
But she's about to discover
He's my son.
she's already said too much.
She's your mother.
You're her shrink? Meryl Streep, Uma Thurman.
You let me talk to you about our sex life. Trust me, that was hard for me than it was for you.
Prime.
I'm a wreck.
Rated PG-13. Starts October 28th.
In colorful, bustling, modern-day Manhattan, Rafi Garded, played by Uma Thurman, meets David Blumberg, played by Ben Younger, who's also the director of the film. He also did Boiler Room before this. And he's a handsome 23-year-old painter recently out of college. Rafi's therapist is Dr. Lisa Metzger, played by Meryl Streep, who is working to help Rafi overcome his fears of intimacy, finding out that Rafi's new lover is, unfortunately for Lisa, her only son, David. Both David and Rafi must contend with their 14-year-old age gap, vastly different backgrounds, and the demands of David's traditional mother. Despite their intense interactions, the charming couple soon realize that vastly different ages and backgrounds create much conflict. A Jewish hip-hop lover and closet painter who still lives with his grandparents, David has little in common with Rafi, a non-practicing Catholic from a well-spoken family who travels in the sophisticated world of high-end fashion. And hilarity ensues. I mean, it's literally the equivalent of a sitcom when you really look into it, but it's a really good movie, man. It's one that I definitely say is a very underrated film, and it works mostly because the three main actors in here are so good. You know, actually, I said it was Ben Younger. No, it was Brian Greenberg who plays David in here. But Brian Greenberg's very good in here. I like the chemistry between him and Uma Thurman. Uma Thurman and Meryl Streep have some nice scenes together, but Meryl Streep usually can do anything, and it will not really turn out to be bad because she's definitely involved in it and actually is given her role. I mean, yeah, she's made some bad movies, but this is definitely not one of them. And it's a really good movie. It's a very entertaining film. You know, it's a very funny film in general. Yeah, it has a sitcomish plot in general, and there are a lot of jokes that are very sitcom-y in general, but because you have some good talents right here, it does carry the load a little bit to say that it's definitely worth a watch. It's definitely something that if you like a light, breezy, romantic comedy, Prime is definitely the movie you should see. I highly recommend it, so definitely check that one out. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last movie, which is easily, without a doubt, my favorite movie of the weekend, and that is one of my favorite underrated movies of all time, and that is, of course, Nicolas Cage as the Weatherman.
Man. People recognize me sometimes. Some are jerks. Every couple months, someone throws something at me. A chicken breast, a soft taco. That was refreshing.
What's this?
Spiegel.
Do you know that the harder thing to do and the right thing to do are usually the same thing? Nicolas Cage, Michael Caine.
People don't throw things at me anymore. Maybe because I carry a bow around.
The Weatherman, rated R, starts October 20th.
So The Weatherman is a movie that stars Nicolas Cage as a weatherman in the midst of a midlife crisis. He plays Dave Spitz, a local weatherman in his hometown of Chicago, where his career is going well, while his personal life, his relationship with his perfectionist writer father, played by Michael Caine, his neurotic ex-wife, played by Hope Davis, and his now separated children, one of them played by Nicholas Hoult, is spiraling downward. Despite being loathed and loved by the local masses, Dave is a guy who doesn't seem to have it all together, and in this film he begins to feel it. An attractive job offer presents Dave with a major question: to pursue his career in New York City or to remain at home with his family. This is directed by Gore Verbinski and written by Stephen Conrad, and it was not a big hit when this came out. This was seen as kind of a bomb at the box office. I mean, it wasn't that big of a bomb when you really look at it. It cost $22 million to make and brought in $19 million worldwide, but again, it was something that was quickly forgotten by a lot of people, but except for me personally. But I know that I've stated that Cage has not been that great of an actor in the past, but when you give him a really good role like this, he can pull it off perfectly, and this is a prime example of why this is a great role for him. You know, this is a brilliantly acted, well-written dark comedy with not only a great performance by Cage, but you have the cast that includes Hope Davis, Nicholas Hoult, Michael Caine, Gil Bellows. Some nice cinematography, a good story, great dark comedy too. I never get bored watching this movie by any means. It unfortunately did crash and burn at the box office, but it was not that great of a critical success. But the movie really is a great underrated gem that proves that Nicolas Cage can be a great actor while he gets the role right. And he knocks it out of the park with this movie. You know, it inspired me a lot because it proved that in a time when you had like a lot of blockbusters reigning supreme, there are still those little movies like this that are reminiscent of the ways movies used to be. Very story-driven, competently handled. To say whether or not this is Cage's best as an actor, it's a really close call. I do like a lot of his movies. I like his performance in Leaving Las Vegas, Raising Arizona, Moonstruck, Peggy Sue Got Married, even over the top stuff like Vampire's Kiss, Con Air. I mean, Lord of War, we just talked about that one not too long ago. This is definitely a movie that's right up there with some of his best movies in general. It just has so many great lines in it too, and so many great kind of relatable moments in general, like the scene in the trailer there where he's a weatherman. Of course, he's going to get the weather wrong, and when it does, people won't be afraid to throw stuff at him, food at him. And there's like a great montage of all the stuff that's been thrown at him, like chicken nuggets, drinks, a Whopper, a taco, like. It's a running gag in the movie, and it's one of those things where it makes a lot of sense. A lot of the stuff in this movie that happens does make a whole lot of sense, and it makes for a really good, criminally underrated film that sadly I don't think a lot of people give it the proper respect it deserves, but it's definitely a film that is well worth a watch. This is one I highly recommend. Definitely check out The Weatherman. It's definitely one movie you can't afford to miss. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. The next time we meet, we have 2 movies to kick off the holiday movie season. Disney trying to go it on their own, with Pixar potentially leaving them in the next couple of months. We have Chicken Little. We also have Sam Mendes' Jarhead with Jake Gyllenhaal and Jamie Foxx. Great war movie in general. But we'll take a look at both of those movies, both on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the place on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button if you want to get updates on when new videos get posted up. We post here every day, so definitely hit the like, subscribe, and notification button if you like these videos and want to see more of them. So, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.